Then we got this transfer portal that you mentioned, which seemed to be working against the U this time last year, but seems to be working in Manny Diaz's favor this year. And the name that everybody's talking about, of course, is the ERIQ King from Houston, a guy that's accounted for a ton of touchdowns, won some big games, and has been a dynamic dual threat quarterback with the Cougars.
Right, absolutely. I've had to eat some crow on Twitter for what I said, and I spoke about the fact that on Twitter, and I still stand on that tweet, speaking about the fact that I kind of was excited for the production under Rick Lashley with the QBs that we have now, and that was more of my mindset that maybe this ERIQ King thing wasn't going to go through. And when you turn on the film, he's undeniable. He's a man that, no matter what anyone has to say, his statistics and his film, I'm more of a film analysis guy. It speaks for itself. Dynamic with the football, a former wide receiver, came there as an athlete, played all over the field, kick return, wide receiver, running back, and then in 2018 took over as the QB and accounted for 50 total touchdowns. It's just, I had the Tate Martell syndrome, but not realizing that this young man is actually produced at the Division I level at Houston and has done it in some pretty good games against the likes of Oklahoma and being in those games. And Houston and Miami are very comparable. The more that I look at it, he will know how to play behind a so-so offensive line and make them something that doesn't really matter, because the spread is more about playing outside in, as the great Cam Underwood says, turn it into 7-on-7. And the ERIQ King has a great way of doing that. So I've had to just go ahead and accept I was wrong about that. And hopefully him coming into this QB battle. Does anyone really think it's going to be a QB battle? I think it's more of the ERIQ King's job. And we're going to see what he can do in the orange and green, man. Honestly, I'm excited.
Yeah, the numbers look really impressive from 2018 in the American Conference. And of course, if you really follow college football, a lot of people of the Power Five status and perspective look down on the group of five. But when you're especially talking about the Mountain West and you're talking about the American Conference, take Clemson away from the ACC right now. Mm-hmm. Check out the American Conference, compare it to the ACC, and they're pretty comparable leagues right now. I don't expect that to last for a long time. That hasn't been the case year after year after year, but for the last couple of years, very comparable. Mm-hmm. And ERIQ King, as you mentioned, 36 touchdowns, only 6 picks in 2018, ran for 600 yards, accounted for another 14 touchdowns on the ground. Not a whole lot of guys that you can find walking down the street that can put up 50 touchdowns in the American Conference.
Absolutely.
So that's a lot of production.
It is, and it was something, like I said, I've spoken and accepted the fact that I was wrong about it, but it was more about the Tate Martell syndrome. Everyone was tweeting out him when he was at Ohio State, and those same 5 plays. I was all over the timeline, but this young man, he's proven. And like I said, the AAC and the ACC Coastal is very comparable. So it's not like he's taken a big step to where now he's playing up against these SEC or Big Ten defenses. He's going to be playing up against defenses that he's seen similar in the Big 12 when he played Oklahoma, and similar in the AAC. And also he's going to be playing teams that have almost all switched to the spread concept. Something I was spoken about on my channel. The University of Miami is really kind of a decade behind in college football when it comes to our approach offensively. We've had some sprinkles in there with the James Coley spread and the Mark Richt second season RPO in 2017. But to dedicate to a spread and recruit to that spread and play the spread year in and year out, Miami has not done that up until this year with the hire of Rick Lashley. And the ERIQ King can come in here and flourish in that system. And we're going to be playing, the shootout versus North Carolina later on in the season. That's going to be a big game. They're a spread now. Georgia Tech is also a spread now. Virginia Tech has come over to a spread. So a lot of the teams that are on our side, Virginia, who won our division in the Coastal, is a spread triple option type. So at the end of the day, 4 out of the teams that are on our side that have been a thorn in our behind play the spread. Even Duke runs a hybrid spread pro style. So Miami was really behind the 8 ball on that. And now we can finally match up with them, because everyone else has been playing 7-on-7, and we still thought we had the 0-1 offensive line and trying to blow people off the ball. And it doesn't work like that anymore moving into the 2020s in college football. But I can't wait to talk about our other transfer, an edge rusher. Everyone that knows me knows I played in the fronts and I played defensive end and defensive tackle in college. When we get over to Roche, the edge rusher, that is the part of the conversation I can't wait to start.
Well, I was just going to note here with De'Ara King, before we move on to Roche, he played 2 Power 5 teams in 2018. They had a game against Arizona, and they tore up the Wildcats, so he had a bit of a duel with Khalil Tate, if you're familiar with him, folks out there, and his dynamic playmaking ability, a kid that set the Pac-12 rushing record for a quarterback. And De'Ara King lit him up for 246 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and he ran for a couple touchdowns in that game. Very next week against Texas Tech, they lost the game, but it wasn't his fault. They put up 49 on Texas Tech, 431 yards passing, threw for 5 touchdowns, no picks, and ran for another touchdown.
And you're matching him up with Rick Lashley coming from SMU. It's a nice combination of things. At the end of the day, I'm smiling in the ear. I'm super excited, but we have to take the wait and see approach, man. Don't knock on wood, but we got to be careful about injuries. We got to be careful about, and no pun intended, crowning people in advance. They have to go out and produce. And then, of course, those first couple of weeks, we have Temple and Wagner and UAB, teams that he's used to playing in the AACs, play Temple. So being able to play Wagner and teams like that, kind of, I wouldn't say a 3-game sample size easy stretch, because at Miami, when we lose to FIU and La Tech, it's not just easy to walk in and think we're going to beat anyone. But it's something easy to where it can start to build that chemistry offensively and start clicking as running back, offensive line, wide receiver, QB, tight end. Get in sync with Coach Rick Lashley and how he wants to go up tempo and how he wants to call things. And then we go up into East Lansing 4 weeks into the season. So it'll be something that it's much better than having to throw Jaron Williams to the Wolves with a 10-11 win UF team to start off his career. So pretty excited about where it's going to go.